Hello, everyone, and welcome to our CMEpalooza Fall moderator interviews, where Derek Warnick, the CME guy, and myself, Scott Kober, will be talking to moderators from our sessions that are planned for CMEpalooza Fall on Wednesday, October 15th. Today we are joined by Allison Gardner, PhD. Allison is the Vice President of Educational Strategy and Content for MedIQ in Baltimore. She's worked in the CME industry since 2006, initially joining MedIQ as a clinical content manager in 2009. Prior to joining the CME industry, Allison spent 7 years in postgraduate scientific research and pharmaceutical quality assurance. She completed her undergraduate education in pharmacology and toxicology at the University of Wisconsin in Madison and earned a doctorate in biochemistry and molecular biology from the Johns Hopkins University. So thank you for joining us today, Allison.
Great.
So we will just be kind of running through a couple questions for Allison, both about the CME industry and about the session that she will be moderating during CMEpalooza Fall. So Allison is moderating one of the 6 sessions that will be held during CMEpalooza Fall. She is going to be moderating the 10 a.m. session, which is a session near and dear to my heart, which is entitled, Have We Forgotten About the Content in Continuing Medical Education? So here's our full agenda for the CMEpalooza Fall activity. And so let's get started. So question number 1, why are you optimistic about the future of CME?
I'm optimistic about the future of CME because there's been a lot of changes and it's a very dynamic landscape in terms of healthcare industry. And I think that forces us to get out of our comfort zone and continue to come up with really interesting and dynamic platforms for our education that is going to keep it relevant and applicable to clinicians in this changing environment. So I think all of these changes make us kind of stay to the front of our seats and be really innovative in how we develop and deliver the education. So we can't just sit back and deliver webcast after webcast or anything like that. So we have to stay creative, and I think that's really fun and a great part of what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been really interesting seeing, all the people that are coming along with all these kind of new sorts of platforms and new ways to develop education. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting when you're kind of involved with something that's brand new, kind of seeing how it all works, and kind of putting the finished products together.
Definitely.
Okay, so question number 2. What scares you about the future of CME?
I'll start this one similarly to how I started the other one. It's a very dynamic landscape, and I think there's some really important decisions being made about that have significant implications on our industry that we don't get to make necessarily. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and we just kind of have to see how these things shake out. I think that we've done a great job in terms of adapting to the Sunshine Act and things like that, but there may be some other things coming down the pike, and we're not quite sure how that's going to affect funding and other sorts of things that are very key parts of what we do.
Yeah, I think for better or for worse, a lot of us have had to be pretty nimble in these last few years.
Right.
So, okay, so question number 3. What do you feel has been the most important change to CME in the last 5 years?
I think there's a growing focus on putting the patient and the patient perspective into education, and making sure that we're including them in the fold in terms of this team that's going to make clinical decisions. So incorporating desires and preferences of patients into education has gained importance over the last couple of years, and I think that goes along with making our education really relevant to clinicians' practice. So I think that's something that has been an important change that's just going to help make our education that we develop and to put out there just more relevant to people's practices.
So then just out of curiosity, I mean, so how have you guys included the patient in some of your recent educational initiatives?
We've actually put patients' voices into activities. We are getting ready to launch an activity, I think it's today or tomorrow, in cystic fibrosis, and it's all about treatment adherence and the challenges to that. So we got a group of patients together and we talked about it, and we actually put their voice into the activity. And we've also had patients come and be part of, workshop faculty. So, to hear people's perspectives, from their, actual experience, I think can help bring up some issues that might not typically come up in a standard sort of CME educational activity.
Okay, great. Okay, question number 4. What has been your best personal learning experience in the last year? And watching one of the CMEpalooza spring activities does not count.
All right.
I know I didn't steal your answer.
I was at a conference in April, and there was this really great presentation by somebody totally out of the CME industry, and the concept that he was talking about was called the gravity of success, and how that which makes you really successful can be your downfall if you just sit back and don't do anything to evolve. And hearing that talk, and with everything that is changing in healthcare, just I think makes me sort of step back and look at what we do in a larger context, and how can we move CME to be something that's more than just a requirement that you have to, check off every year. And nobody wants to just be a requirement. So it's things like this talk, thinking about the gravity of success and how do we continue to evolve to make sure that we stay relevant and we stay impactful. It's been a good learning experience just to put everything into a broader context.
Great. Okay. All right. Question number 5. So this is the one where we'll talk specifically about your session. So what is your vision for this session? And once again, as a reminder for folks, this session is focusing on, have we forgotten about the content in CME? So what is your vision, and why should learners tune in?
Well, I think it's a great panel of presenters and people from different corners of the CME industry. So I think there's going to be a nice representation of different sorts of opinions. And then just thinking about, the role that content plays, in the CME activities. If you think about when you're in college or just other talks that you've seen, really the best ones that you see is when the presenter tells a really good story. And I think that that's something that we need to always think about, is how do we take this information and this data and this evidence and tell a great story so we can develop education that's as compelling as it is informational and informative to our providers. So what I hope will happen in the session is we'll get a great conversation going about, how all the different panelists in their different roles in developing CME, how they try to tell this great story so we can make the information interesting and help make it stick and really take that step and make sure that our education really does improve the care that's delivered in this country.
Great. I know one of the things that Derek and I really did purposefully try to work on is try to get a variety of folks on each of these panels. So I know for your panel, it's yourself from a medical education company. There's another woman from a medical education company. Then there's also a freelance medical writer, and then there is somebody from an academic society. So I think it's going to be interesting to kind of get a variety of viewpoints from people who work in different sorts of sectors of our field to kind of see what they have to say. Okay, so now for your bonus question.
Okay.
so since this is a content-driven,
it's the eat, shoots, and leaves, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yes,
Or let's
right,
eat
exactly.
grandma. Let's eat
Yes,
grandma.
yes.
Well, because I love my grandmother very much and I wouldn't want her to be eaten, I think I'm very much pro the cereal coma.
Okay, very good. So with that, I'd like to thank Allison for joining us today, and to remind everyone to please visit the CMEpalooza website at cmepalooza.com. You can check out our full agenda, description of each of our sessions, our list of speakers, as well as our current sponsors. And I hope that you'll come back, everyone will come back on Wednesday, October 15th. To see what more Allison and all of our moderators and all of our speakers have to say.
Great, thank you.